14 years ago when we started, we could see an opportunity for a car with the basic ethos of high speed, low cost, or lower cost than there was available at the time. And we set out with a design brief to build a car that weighed 350 kilos and we could sell for £15,000. And we missed both targets by a country mile, but we had a good go. And so we ended up with a 400 kilo car that cost £18,000 to buy. So it was for like-minded people who were in business, wanted to go racing, but wanted to run the car themselves on the trailer. And that's what we first started building, a car that you could run yourself. It was light, but extremely nimble, had slick tyres, eventually had downforce within the second or third year, and it was something for the clubman driver to go and have fun with. You know, by year 3 or 4, we got a two-seat car, which became the SR3, which is the best-selling model. Sold almost 800 of those now in 14 years, although 14 years history, so 10 years of SR3, almost 800 cars. They're two-seaters, but they're universal cars. They're great for track days, they're great for endurance racing, they can be road registered. With 2 full-size seats you can get coaching, you can drive a driving coach around and get instruction. So the SR3 became the universal man really, and that's why it sold so many. It's a great endurance racer. One of our works cars did 11,000 kilometres racing last year. If you look at the dynamics of the vehicle, you see we're pulling 2G in braking, 2.5, 2.8G in cornering. It's a buzz, it's a wild ride, and we've brought that to the man in the street really. So it's very easy to drive these cars very fast, and the fantastic thing is there's just a little bit of margin at the top where the serious racer can keep on working and keep on producing a little bit better lap time, those of them that want to. We do like end-to-end control if we can, because then we can give the customer what they want. So they can buy the car from us, we organise the championship for them that takes them to the places that they want to go, because that's what they tell us. So we set up the championship, we produce the car for the championship, and we try and control as much as possible in motorsport the whole environment for the customer, so they can come along, they can do the racing on the days that they want to. For instance, Clubman's Cup is all over and done in one day, because that's what those clients were telling us. They can come on a Saturday, they get qualifying in 2 races on a Saturday, and the endurance racers want a little longer race, so they got 1 race on Saturday and 1 race on Sunday. I believe our record at the Nordschleife still stands. That's the Nurburgring, 14.7 mile, the old course, the North Circuit, still stands as to a road tired car. Now it's a bit of an unofficial lap record that everybody does, but for that lap record it should be on road tyres. Now people do go faster on slicks, and we could go 20 seconds faster on slicks, but on the road tired Nordschleife we've held that twice with our turbo car and then our V8. And actually our V8 again, so we have actually broken it 3 times over the years. And that it's a marketing thing, obviously. For the people in Europe, things like the Nordschleife record is a measure of the car. One thing a lot of customers are amazed at is the far end door in the factory. We get 7-metre lengths of steel tube and barrels of sticky stuff across the road for the glass fibre, and out of this door goes finished racing cars. And it's the whole gambit in between, including machining our own cylinder blocks on our own mills, which I think you find at places like Ferrari and stuff like that. Certainly not in a cottage industry race car company. So we're fairly unusual like that. So the V8 engine produces 400 horsepower, weighs 98 kilos. It's an absolute gem of an engine. We probably produce 200 of those engines. They're used in different championships around the world, but we use it in our V8. So we've got a car there that's 650 kilos, 400 horsepower. You can just imagine what the dynamics are like in that car. In all 3 departments of the company, we employ 120 people total to produce 5 cars a week. So we're 200 cars last year, and every working day this year we've started to build a new chassis. So we build 5 cars a week in a 5-day working week. So it keeps us busy, and up to 80% of that product goes overseas. The wait time is usually 6 to 8 weeks. The actual hours to build a car, I'm sure one of our bean counters adds it up, but I'd hate to think. If you were to say, at this present moment in time, we have something like 45 cars on the build list, which is our quieter end. We can have up to 80 cars on order. But the overriding thing is, if you were to come along and say, I've got a race next weekend and I'd like to buy a car, you'll have a new car on the grid next weekend. We'll find a way somehow. The fuel usage on a Radical is pretty much the same as every other race car, which is probably about 5 miles to the gallon.
Is that what it would be?
Yeah, but if you look at the entire Formula One race season and all the cars that are on the grid, that doesn't use as much fuel as one flight from Heathrow to New York. We did sponsor some guys from university to do the Pan American Highway. That's right, from virtually from Alaska to South America, to Argentina, and it was a huge undertaking by them. And we built the chassis and the running gear for them, and that endured that run all the way down there, thousands of miles. And there is a future in electric vehicles, but I don't think it's racing just yet. There's a number of safety issues that we'd like overcoming. Batteries that get overcharged, catching fire, and that sort of thing. It's fantastic opportunity for green motoring, but it's a much better delivery vehicle than a race vehicle at the moment. We've been putting Radicals on the road for 10 years. The SR3 has been put on the road, but that's by a system we call IVA, Individual Vehicle Approval, which the early Lotus Elises were done through. So our cars were IVA'd for use in the UK only, not for overseas. So small volume type approval has allowed us to produce a certificate of conformity, and then they can be registered in Germany or Italy or any member state, so it's all European wise. So to do that we had to conform to Euro 5, which is a massive undertaking for a small company like this, and we achieved that in 8 months. So it's sort of hats off to our technical guys and our partners, and Ford particularly helped us tremendously. But we chose an engine that would conform to Euro 5 for small vehicles, whereas a Suzuki or any other motorcycle engine does not conform to that in its raw state. So how could we as a small British company make it do that? So we took an engine that already conformed to Euro 5, and then we had to produce the electronics to mirror what the parent company Ford had done. So that's why we chose the Ford. We chose the very latest Ford EcoBoost, which is a tremendous range of engines, really fuel efficient, really green. So we thought that was the best base. That engine's got a life of 18 years with Ford in 15 platforms worldwide. So we're right at the early gestation of the engine. And we've put a 2-litre EcoBoost, which is turbocharged engine, in our very lightweight car, and you've probably sampled it. It goes like a rocket. Part of the type approval is you've obviously got to look in earnest at pedestrian safety. So the rear wing had to change, lighting had to change, certain safety aspects of the car had to change. So it had to be crash tested. The steering column had to be crash tested. The steering wheel and so on had to be crash tested. And the aerodynamic changes meant that we had to, the thing that makes all of the current Radicals different from anything else is a good amount of downforce. We wanted to keep that downforce for the road, so we had to style it differently because we couldn't use a race wing anymore. There's a major consideration on aerodynamics in the design, but this has been built up over 10 years really. Every Radical model has been in the same wind tunnel, which is almost as important as being in any wind tunnel. So we build up the same picture, and we know what downforce figures we're looking for, and we know what drag figures we're looking for. And because we're so conversant with a wind tunnel, that's the great thing. We use the wind tunnel at Myra. Every Radical model's been in there, so there's an awful lot of work done on the wind tunnel. We do an awful lot of track testing and have done over the years, and developed a range of drivers really to understand what the drivers are feeding back, because our customer really, our target customer is the amateur driver. So we would go for a car that's easy to drive rather than all out fast. We outperform many of our competitors in the fact that most average people can jump in a Radical and go quickly because we design the car that way. We design it to be easy to drive, to be very forgiving, to have terrific feedback to the driver, and they just get in and use it. Now, there are ways of making a car go slightly quicker, but you'd need next year's world champion to be the driver. That's no good for us. We don't want a car that's knife edgy. We want a car that's easy to drive. Currently, Martin Brundle drives a car occasionally, but particularly Martin's son, Alex Brundle, who is a Formula 2 star and going into Le Mans with his father Martin this year. And Alex does an awful lot of test driving for us, and his feedback's sort of vital to us. But also in our recent events in India, 4 or 5 former Formula 1 drivers, Shona Lacey, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, all people like that have driven the Radical and sort of given very good feedback. So it's great. We build up all this information. I think Top Gear's unfinished business for us. If we can, we have to be invited to go down there. We have to be serious enough to be invited down there. So we'd like to qualify for that with our new road car. We have been on the top of the list of Top Gear before, and still the times that they're producing today wouldn't match the time that we did when we went down for filming. We're running with the World Endurance Championship at Spa, and with European GTs at Barcelona, so quite a few big dates coming up. Yeah.